For us, it's important at a EssenceMediaCom South Africa level to make sure that we're building out craft pillars. And that means that we're building out entirely new skill sets and disciplines. So there's a huge training and development drive for us. That's a huge focus. So it's important for us to understand what are the scarce and critical skill sets within the EssenceMediaCom structure and operating model. Where are the gaps internally, and how are we bridging those gaps through things like training interventions or understanding training needs, understanding where the scarce and critical skill sets lie, and solving that through mentorship, on-the-job training, formal training, informal training, etc. A second focus for us from a people perspective in South Africa particularly is on diversity, equity and inclusion. It is a huge drive for us globally, and we understand that, and regionally, but I think this really speaks to us at a local level. We come from a very diverse environment in South Africa, and diversity ranges, as we know, from gender, sort of age, sex, ethnicity, nationality, etc. So it's important to look at diversity holistically, and we've implemented certain initiatives within EssenceMediaCom South Africa to drive this. One of them being a program known as the Sponsorship Program. It is actually a regional and global initiative that we've translated locally. And what this really talks to is understanding who are our previously disadvantaged individuals within the agency, pairing them up with like-minded individuals at a more senior level, and having them support these individuals in terms of making deliberate efforts to help them progress in their career. So it could be a case of deliberately opening an opportunity for someone, deliberately making an introduction, deliberately supporting someone to network with someone else who would have an impact in the industry. It's different from mentorship because it's more deliberate and purposeful. We also have a drive in terms of tracking equity stats in our agency at all levels. It's important for us to ensure that we are improving on a year-to-year basis in terms of the number of African females, for example, that we have at exco level or at management level or at mid-level and so forth. And of course, this is important for us to align with our national targets in South Africa. And then I think the third and final sort of focused area for us from a people perspective this year is building that EssenceMediaCom culture. We understand that there are various behaviors that we'll talk to later or just now that we need to translate locally, but it's important that we're all working together to live and breathe those behaviors and those values in South Africa, although they're very much aligned to the previous MediaCom philosophy in terms of people first, better results. But they're shifted slightly in terms of bringing in the new thinking and thought process around breakthrough thinking, around connection and collaboration. So it's important that there's a culture strategy in place, there's a culture calendar in place. This ties into our social media strategy and marketing strategy overall, and we're inviting staff to participate and build this out with us so everyone feels involved in creating a new culture. I think it's important to understand that the time we're in now is a dynamic time to be in the HR and people space because there's a lot of complexities we need to consider, especially within the media and advertising industry. We are facing a high turnover rate, and I think we've known this for the past couple of years. It's why, as EssenceMediaCom, we're continuing to emerge, we're continuing to grow, and we're continuing to be at the forefront with the agency of the future. But it doesn't go without saying that there still is a lack of talent within the industry that holds the scarce and critical skill sets that we need to continue growing our business and growing the craft pillars of EssenceMediaCom. So I think that's the first thing, is the lack of talent, and how are we addressing that? We need to make sure that we're continuously training and developing our people, that we have succession plans in place, and that there are 2 ICs in place for critical roles. So there's constantly development and growth internally within the agency. I think the second aspect is competition. we have big competitors in this industry, and we're constantly needing to understand what their strategies are, what their recruitment strategy is, what their overall people strategy is, and to make sure that we're ahead of the game from that perspective. So making sure that we're offering things like lucrative benefits, we're offering non-monetary rewards and incentives that other companies may not be able to, that we're creating a culture where people want to stay and where people remain happy. The second part of it is obviously the salary bands. We're obviously competing with an industry where talent is scarce and companies are paying for talent. So how do we compete in this space but continually remain fair and market related in terms of our salary bands, and ensuring that we're practicing fairness and we're practicing an open communication and transparent approach in this aspect. I would say these would be the main challenges that we face at this point in time with EssenceMediaCom and building a new agency. We also face the issue of brain drain. We do know that South Africa as a country has economic instability. There are various issues that we're facing from an economic climate perspective, and we have a lot of people immigrating and leaving the country. This means that we're losing key talent to global markets, which is great for people who are moving across within EssenceMediaCom to other markets, but it does have a potential negative impact to EssenceMediaCom South Africa. So what's important for us is, again, to just focus on retaining our talent, nurturing and growing our talent, and making sure that there are succession plans and 2ICs and pipelines in place to combat that potential issue. I think this is a tough one because it's really important to make sure that your people strategy is aligned to your business strategy, or to EssenceMediaCom's vision, which we call it. And what that talks to is ensuring that there are commercial targets in place. And as an ExCo member, it's important that I'm invested in the business to reach those targets, but balance that drive to reach targets with our people first, better results philosophy, and making sure that we keep our people happy in a fair and in a fair way. And we have a ratio that we typically track to make sure, from a commercial or people commercial perspective, to make sure that we're tracking commercially. We're tracking healthily from a commercial standpoint, and that ratio is staff cost to client net sales. So that's one way to strike the balance, because we need to make sure that the company is making money to be able to fairly compensate and remunerate our staff, while maintaining the softer side of staff happiness. I mean, at the end of the day, we are in the business of selling our time, which means that people are our greatest assets. So it's important that that does always remain priority, and I think it does for the ExCo team holistically, but making sure that we're balancing that with our commercial targets, and there's a drive continuously in terms of what that people vision is and how it translates up to the overall business vision.